probably finished Elden Ring believing you already knew what destroyed the lands between. Godwyn died, Marika shattered the Elden Ring, the world fell apart, simple. But if Godwyn's death immediately destroyed everything, then why does so much of the world's history feels like a desperate attempt to solve a problem that had only just begun? What if Godwyn's death wasn't the event that destroyed the world? What if the real tragedy was every attempt to save it? I think that is what actually happened. I don't think the Shattering destroyed the lands between. I think the Golden Order, Miquella, and even Marika spent centuries trying to prevent a collapse that started with Godwyn's death. And every one of them accidentally made it worse. The Night of Black Knives wasn't the end of the story, it was the first domino, and once it fell, every solution became another disaster. Most discussions about Godwyn focus on the murder itself. I think that's looking at the wrong moment. The important thing isn't that Godwyn died. The important thing is that he didn't die correctly. For the first time in history, a demigod suffered a death that broke the rules of reality itself. His soul died, but his body didn't. And from that impossible contradiction came Deathroot. That is a detail I keep coming back to. Because Deathroot isn't simply a consequence of Godwyn's death. It's evidence that something fundamental in the world stopped working. Before this point, the Golden Order appeared stable. Life, death, rebirth, all of it existed within a controlled cycle centered around the Erdtree. Then suddenly a corpse begins spreading corruption beneath the roots of the world. Souls stop behaving normally, the dead stop staying dead, entire regions of the lands between become infected. And nobody knows how to stop it. This is why I don't see the Night of the Black Knives as a tragedy. I see it as a system failure. The first sign that the Golden Order wasn't nearly as perfect as everyone believed. Godwyn's death revealed a flaw. Deathroot exposed it. And from that moment onward, every powerful figure in the lands between was trying to answer the same question. How do you fix something that was never supposed to break? When something goes wrong, institutions usually respond by becoming more rigid. That is exactly what happened in the world of Elden Ring. One of the most interesting developments after Godwyn's death is the rise of the Golden Order Fundamentalism. On the surface, it looks like progress. Scholars, research, investigation, a more intellectual understanding of the Golden Order. But when I look at it, I don't see confidence, I see panic. The Order suddenly needed explanations, it suddenly needed answers, because Deathroot kept spreading. Those who live in death kept appearing, and the old beliefs weren't enough anymore. So the Golden Order created hunters, specialized incantations, and a system designed to combat the undead. But there is a problem. None of these efforts actually solved anything. They fought symptoms but not causes. Every victory was temporary and every solution was reactive. The deeper they studied the problem, the more obvious it became that they didn't understand it. And that is what makes this era so tragic. The Golden Order wasn't becoming stronger. It was becoming increasingly aware of its own limitations. The people in power spent enormous effort preserving a system that was already failing. And eventually one person seems to have realized that. It was Miquella. I think Miquella understood something that almost nobody else did. The Golden Order wasn't damaged, it was doomed. For a time Miquella worked within the system. She studied fundamentalism and helped develop its teachings. She searched for solutions, but eventually she walked away. And to be honest, that decision has always fascinated me. Because Miquella isn't the kind of character who gives up easily. If she abandoned the Golden Order, then she must have concluded that it couldn't be saved. Think about everything she witnessed. Deathroot continued spreading, millennia remained cursed, the fundamental problems remained unsolved. At some point fixing the system probably stopped looking possible. So Miquella did something radical. She stopped trying to repair the old order and started building a new one. I think that the Haligtree wasn't just a refuge, it was a replacement. A new foundation of a new future that could answer to a problem that Erdtree could not longer solve. Actually, that was the first time since Godwyn's death someone wasn't treating the symptoms, someone was trying to move beyond the disease entirely. And for a brief moment it looked like that future might actually work, which is why what happened next matters so much. The more I think about the Haligtree, the harder it becomes to see it as a side story. To me it feels like the most important failed project in Elden Ring. Because if Miquella was truly building an alternative to the Erdtree, then the Haligtree represents something the world desperately needed – hope. Not hope that the Golden Order could recover, but hope that something better could replace it. That is why Mog's intervention feels so catastrophic, because when Miquella disappeared, the Haligtree stopped being a future. It became another ruin, another failure, another reminder that nobody could solve the crisis Godwyn's death had created. And that is the moment where I think the story fundamentally changes. Before this point, people were still trying to save the world. After this point, there were no solutions left. The Golden Order had failed, fundamentalism had failed, the Haligtree had failed. Every path forward was collapsing. And that leaves one final figure standing at the center of the disaster – Marika. This is where my entire interpretation comes together. Most Elden Ring lore interpretations consider the Shattering as the moment everything went wrong, but I think it's a moment Marika realized everything had already gone wrong. By the time the Elden Ring breaks, the world has spent ages accumulating failures. Godwyn's death, Deathroot, the Undead, the collapse of fate, fundamentalism, and the Haligtree failure. A growing divide between competing visions of the future. One by one, every attempt to stop the decline had failed. And eventually Marika reached the same conclusion Miquella had. The existing order could not continue. The difference is that Miquella tried replacement. Marika chose destruction. That is why I don't see the Shattering as an emotional outburst. I see it as surrender. Not surrender to grief, but surrender to reality. The realization that every effort to preserve the world had only delayed the inevitable. The Shattering was not the first domino, it was the last one. The final collapse of a structure that had been breaking for a very long time. The Night of the Black Knives is considered to be the moment the world broke. And I have the dedicated video regarding Ranni and her relationships with Black Knife assassins, who actually were at the center of the Night of the Black Knives event. The link to this video is gonna be in description to this one. But let's move on. So again, I don't think that the Night of the Black Knives was the moment the world broke. I think the world survived that night. What followed was far worse. Because once Godwyn died, every powerful person in the lands between understood that something was wrong. The Golden Order tried to fix it, fundamentalism tried to fix it, Miquella and Marika tried to fix it, and every attempt failed. Some failures slowed the collapse, some accelerated it, but none of them stopped it. That is why I don't think Godwyn's death destroyed the Elden Ring world. I think it revealed a wound that could never heal. And the cruelest part of the story is that the people trying to save the lands between may have been ones who ultimately doomed it. Godwyn's death was the first step, but the world was destroyed by everyone desperately trying to stand it back up. Thanks for watching, hit that like button and subscribe for more Elden Ring and other Souls-like games lore and guide videos, and stay sharp out there, Tarnished.